This webinar from Hawaii tonight is about mind training in the Tibetan tradition, covering the various aspects of mind training as a person would actually do the practices. Because you can hear about this, read about it, but unless you do the practices, you won't get any results.
Beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to pause you there for just a moment. So just a few little housekeeping notes for everybody. The webinar is being recorded, and the videos will be available. I can't give you a date, like probably in a week or 2 weeks. We have one of our wonderful students doing the editing for us. When they are ready, they will be posted in the Facebook group, Tibetan Tantra Dharma with Lama Tashi. So if you're not part of that group, please look it up on Facebook, and that's where we will be posting the video of this and the previous webinar. And then also, if you have questions, please type them in as they arise. Lama Tashi will be taking breaks throughout the teaching this evening to answer questions. So as soon as you have a question come up, please type it in, and I will answer it at the earliest available opportunity. And then just a reminder that tonight's class is free, and we love and appreciate it when you donate to support the Kauai Dharma Center and Lama Tashi's teachings. So you can do that at any time at kauaidharma.org. All right, that's it. You get the talking stick, Lama Tashi.
Thank you. This is coming from Hawaii, from the island of Kauai. My name is Lama Tashi, and I'm the teacher for Kauai and the Kauai Dharma Center. Actually, we call our center a healing center because we offer the Dharma practices for healing, but we also offer other modalities, such as guidance in diet, massage, and other healing practices. The one we're presenting tonight has to do with a direct method of healing involving the 5 elements. This method, this system, is very similar to other traditions such as the Taoist tradition, the Sufi, and some of the Hindu traditions. This is Tibetan Buddhist practice presented as it was transmitted not only from India, but also from China and other countries into the Tibetan people as shamanistic practices for healing. When we talk about the 5 elements, we think of them as the mother principle of the universe because everything in the universe is created with these 5 elements. So we're talking about our own body in relation to everything in the universe. The mind is the most important aspect of healing because we use not only the elements in symbolic form for healing through symbols, but we also use those same elements to connect to what is called 5 states of healing, or 5 Buddha families. And these actually are states of intrinsic awareness that we connect to as another dimension of our consciousness that is not normally being used. And when I use the word normally, I mean by ordinary people. So this is actually extraordinary, and it could be thought of as part of our evolutionary process as human beings. When we use these practices and connect to this tradition, you need to have guidance. And in our tradition, the guidance or the teacher is called the Lama. That's why my name is Lama Tashi. So all of the Lamas of the Tibetan tradition are actually giving healing teachings, not religion. We're not approaching the subject of healing religiously. We're approaching it what is called spiritually. Before I start to actually introduce the method, I'm going to do a formal invocation of what is called the refuge. And this has to do with bringing our ordinary consciousness together with our innate state of awareness. So I'll do that now, and then we'll start with the methods. In order to attain enlightenment for ourselves and limitless sentient beings, our mothers, we now all together take refuge and offer prostration. We go for refuge to all the glorious lamas. We go for refuge to all yidams who are deities gathered in our mandalas. We go for refuge to all Buddhas, those who have conquered their mind and gone beyond. We go for refuge to all the supreme Dharma. We go for refuge to all the noble Sangha. We go for refuge to all Dakas and Dakinis who are the protectors and defenders of the Dharma. All of these possess the eye of transcending awareness. And I chant this in Sanskrit because we're communicating not only to ourselves but to other beings in both the human and spirit world. Alde Lama Dampa Namla Chapsu Chio Yedam Chokor Gi Latso Namla Chapsu Chio Sanjay Chom Dende Namla Chapsu Chio Tampe Chur Namla Chapsu Chio Tape Gendum Namla Chapsu Chio Pao Kandro Chokyung Sume Sho Yesheki Shendang Dempa Namla Chapsu Chio. That phrase, Namla Chapsu Chio, means we all together are doing these practices and taking refuge in this outer support system for healing the body, speech, and mind through the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual states of these three. When we talk about healing, we're talking about a relationship with our situation as being in a connection to the phenomenal world and the beings in it. So in this relationship, you want your physical, mental, and emotional situation to be in harmony with that of nature, the natural world, and also the beings in it. The way to do this, the most direct way, is to discipline or train one's mind. When the mind is disciplined, then the speech and activities of the body follow that discipline. In the healing methods, this discipline has 5 basic categories of practice. The first of these 5 categories, and if you're taking notes, it would be good to write this down. The first is the most important. The first is called kindness. For instance, if you ask the Dalai Lama what's his religion, he will say, the practice of loving kindness. Well, kindness in our tradition actually falls into 2 levels of discipline. One is, how do you approach yourself with kindness and others that you're in relationship with or have some connection to. So these 2, yourself and others, we treat as interconnected is the best word. That there is no separation between self and others. When you have an idea of separation, then it's very hard for healing to take place because there's an emotional disconnect between the subject and the object. So we want to train, first of all, with this kindness in the idea that there is no separation between ourselves, others, and the environment, and that everything is interconnected. With that idea, then you overcome what is called dualistic fixation. And the dualistic fixation is based on the idea of separation, causes one to have emotional preoccupation, not only with what you're sensing through the five senses, but also through your thinking. And this emotional preoccupation actually distorts your central perception and your thoughts. And because of that, it distorts the healing process that should be taking place between you and whatever methods of healing you're using. For instance, eating healthy, energetic food, having activities that keep your body in shape, and then mentally being positive in your thought process. Well, more than that, this basic idea of kindness is simply what is going on between a mother and her child. So that basic activity of the relationship of the mother with the child or children is very, very important in using these practices. On the ultimate level, we extend this kindness into a state called loving kindness unconditionally. So now we have a kind of love that isn't really socially practiced on this planet called unconditional love. And also in this another state of kindness that we integrate into our healing method is called compassion. Compassion is simply your concern for the well-being of others. Your concern for the well-being of the planet itself. When we apply this compassion, we do it impartially, or what we call altruistically. This kind of levels the playing field in the application of these healing methods that we're going to introduce. So I'm covering this topic of kindness first, because if this is not in place, actual remedies won't work. Healing is interrupted. So the first and most important aspect of healing in our tradition is the kindness. Then through these mind training practices, since we are using symbols and colors, and in some cases sounds through the speech, one has to be able to focus. Focus is not common in the human condition, and it's actually getting harder and harder to maintain one's focus. And what we're talking about is humans, especially in the industrial situation, technological society, have a poor attention span, is the best word. They're very distracted. And the toys and machines of our technological age increase that factor. So when we use this term focus, we simply mean to be able to single-pointedly keep the mind on one object for long periods of time. And this trains the mind to hold the focus when we do practices that are to affect healing. So tonight, when we actually do practice, the focus is going to be where we'll start with this practice. The term in Sanskrit is yoga. Yoga involves meditation, meditation is the single-pointed concentration on one thing. So yoga and meditation are involved with focusing to discipline the mind. So that's number 2. Number 3, to practice in this tradition to effect healing, one must be able to use their imagination. Now, the imaginary process in most beings is atrophied, or they don't value it. So what we have designed are symbols and I call it software to improve the imaginary process. And that, together with the focus, causes a direct healing to take place. So that's number 3, strengthening or improving the imaginary process of your mental faculty, usually just associated with thinking. Number 4, in the human condition, we have choice. I bring this up because in the animal world, they don't have choice. Their nature is instinctual, and because of that, their consciousness is limited. There is a difference between wild animals and domesticated animals, but still the application of choice is not available. When we talk about this choice, the reason that it's important in the human condition is because we have 2 natures. We have 2 aspects of consciousness. The one that we use as I call the ordinary, is called relative consciousness. And its basis is our sensual perceptions, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, and feeling, and our thinking. Now, those by themselves would be okay, except that we have a predisposition to emotionally involve ourselves with what we are sensing and with what we are thinking. And this emotionality is causing a distortion of those 2. So on the relative level of consciousness, you could say that the drama field of emotionality is causing dis-ease or lack of healing. So to explain that, I'm going to use a term, clarity. Now this clarity is actually a state of awareness, and you can understand it if you understand the term intuitive. Intuitive awareness is an aspect of the human consciousness that arises when a person knows something without ever having heard it, read about it, or given somehow that information. And human beings have this ability, this intuitive awareness. Well, that aspect of consciousness comes from a separate state, not in the relative situation. And the reason it arises is because in that state, there's no drama to block it. There's no emotional conflict. So the clarity shines through with this term intuition. But that is only one aspect of this dimension of consciousness that's innate in all beings, but only humans can use it. So I'm explaining that as the 4th aspect of mind training in our tradition. not only connecting to this state of awareness or clarity, but also finding value in it and being able to integrate it into your worldly activity. So that's number 4. Now we have kindness. We have mind training using meditation, yoga, focusing. We have the development of the imaginary process with symbols, colors, and sound. Very similar to what we do with software when we put them into the hard drive in our computers. And the 4th development in this healing program is connecting to clarity, awareness, developing awareness. Now this greatly increases the healing energy and shortens the time that the healing takes place. But this is important for humans also because we're very short-lived. In other words, we don't know the next moment if we're going to be here. And I mean here in the body. We don't know next week, next year, next month when we have to leave the body. So it is very, very important, and the theme of all of this tradition of Tibetan shamanistic Lamaism, to keep that in mind. And the reason you do that is to give yourself the impetus to practice now, today, and make this a daily activity. And in that way, you not only stay in good health, physically, mentally, emotionally, but also spiritually. Up to this point, I've covered the 5 categories of training. But I left out the 5th one purposely because this one is involving a state of spirituality called devotion. Devotion is an aspect of the human condition which requires one to have respect or honor a certain individual or a certain way of being. This devotion is actually or most useful when it's applied to everybody. In other words, having respect and honor, we would apply it to our environment, to our teachers, to our parents, to our loved ones, and so forth. And it's a heartfelt aspect that connects one, that comes from the kindness, which is also heartfelt. So what we do is we center these 5, kindness, focus, imagination, clarity, and devotion, all in the heart chakra. An energy center which is the symbol for love, or kindness, or compassion, or many other very powerful human qualities that produce healing. If you have these 5 ingrained into your method of being, into your worldliness, activities, and so forth, and take time out to practice these, you will, in a very short period of time, come to what is called maturity as a human being. Not only having good health, but developing your consciousness to a state of knowingness and connecting to this dimension of awareness as the actual state of the universe itself. So what the universe is designed in the human condition is for the human to merge body, speech, and mind with the universal situation, just as it is. So there's There's no high or low. There's no divine, supreme, and supernatural. There's no lesser. We level the playing field, and then in a body or not in a body, we can relax. And this relaxing is actually called equanimity. One taste is the term used in the Tibetan tradition. Equal, total equality. And that's the state of a mature human being. Of course, since we're following this Buddhist tradition, we call that Buddha. But the term Buddha means a man or woman who is totally mature on all levels of their body, speech, and mind. Any questions? If you like, you can text questions and I'd be glad to answer them before we go on to the next part of this class.
I'm not seeing any questions come in, but for those people who would like to text a question, I'm going to give you Abby's number to text, and that is 808-651-1330. So you can text your questions to Abby, or you can type them in if you're on your computer to the screen here. So we do have a question, Lama Tashi. What is the fifth thing again, the fifth aspect that you were describing?
To become totally developed with the first four and set your heart into a devotional state of honor and respect, not only for the method, but for the motivation of this being available and applied impartially to all living beings. And when I say all living beings, I'm talking about all the animals, all the spirits, and all the humans in the entire universe. That's devotion. And then specifically for the source of your information as the lamas, which is what I took refuge with when I started the class tonight. These know the two natures of mind and are trained in communicating how to use these two natures and integrate them with your worldly situation, your worldly activities. So that's a short answer to the fifth aspect of mind training, which is developing devotion, respect, and honor, which is really for yourself. Anything else?
I'm not seeing any other questions come in.
Okay, now we'll enter into the actual healing method process. When we do this, I think it's important to understand that because this information is available, this is extraordinary. And any beings receiving this information have extraordinarily good karma. Whether or not they believe in karma, they should congratulate themselves. Because using these extraordinary practices causes one to become extraordinary. That doesn't mean superior. That doesn't mean outside, disengaged. This means fully integrated into the worldly situation in such a way that you alleviate pain and suffering not only for yourself, others, and the environment, but you increase your states of knowledge and awareness rapidly to the point where everything makes sense, whether it be logical or illogical. So in the introduction of mind training, I would first like to discuss the symbolism that we use. And again, I'm going to say it's similar to other traditions, but this was specifically used in the Indian tradition of Tantra and shamanism, and in the Tibetan tradition, and in some cases Mongolian and all of the tribes along the Himalayan mountain range and part of China. What has evolved graphically are color code, symbols that we use to generate the focus, the ability to keep the mind in one place, but also to cause the actual energy of the element to enter into your situation, not just on the mental level, but since the body and mind can't be separated, also on the physical. And this chart shows 5 colors with 5 symbols, and I'll hold them up as we actually generate them when we take birth in the womb. The first of these 5 elements is the shape of a cube, a 6-sided cube, like a cube of sugar. And we use this graphically to demonstrate the universal energy of Earth, which of course is referring to our planet, but the element Earth is basically within the body and the bone structure. But the Earth element being universal, we can apply this not only for healing ourselves, but healing others. The second element, which evolves when you start to develop in the womb, is the water element. And in this case, we use a blue sphere of light. Like the yellow cube of light, this one is to bring the energy, healing energy of this element into your physical and mental situation. But the color codes actually also connect you to the clarity, the states of intrinsic awareness, and I'll discuss those a little more later. The third element that develops as you become a human in your mother's womb is the heat or fire energy. I like the term radiance or radiation. And this symbol is red and the shape of a pyramid, 4 sides and a base made of light, red light. The fourth element, which is a very great part of our what we call prana yoga or chi energy practices, is the air element. And the symbol for that is a green half sphere of light, and it's visualized as like a bowl with a lid. And finally, we come to the mother element, which is not only incorporated into the body, but into your mental state, space. Now, we call this the mother element because it's incorporated into the other 4 elements, but actually the space element is our phenomenal world. And so because of it, these other 4 and the space, so now here's another state of non-separation. If you use one element symbolized with any of these geometric forms and colors, you should know that the other 4 are there. But what we are doing is actually locating for certain healing practices more of one element than the other 4. And this has been going on thousands of years with the tribes of the planet. The 5 elements graphically can be located through the visualization, through the imagination, outside and actually affect healing situations there, and inside. So there's practices to do both. But tonight I'm going to introduce a practice that actually is both, but we're more focused on the outside. Then, as I mentioned before, each of these, because of their color code, are connecting to states of awareness. I mentioned one, intuitive awareness. This is actually occurring because of a state of clarity by one's connecting to the heart chakra. Why? Because it gets you out of your head. The more and more you start to center in the heart chakra, the more and more healing takes place, the less and less disease, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual dysfunction. Then the other four colors are actually symbolizing awareness as a state of unity, which means we completely take out the idea of separation or dualistic fixation between the subject, object, and the activities, the subject-object relationship, and move into a state of union where everything is interconnected. And in that way, we can impartially apply these healing remedies. The second one is called action. When we move into action, we have to use our mind, but also our body and our speech. This is important to communicate this healing process and all the methods. The fourth state of awareness, as I mentioned before, is equality or equanimity, leveling the playing field, making us all equal. And when I say us, we, I'm referring to, again, all the animals, all the humans, and all the spirits in the entire universe. And finally, the fifth aspect of awareness is called discerning or discriminating the two states. The state of awareness is applied to the state of your relative emotional preoccupation of what we call egocentric activity, where you start to discern more and more that the clarity and these qualities that are incorporated are actually part of the five elements. They are the nature of the universe. And they are not supreme and supernatural. We don't do that. So we keep this on the human level of spirituality or healing. That said, let's do a practice. The first practice is focus, developing focus, single-pointed concentration. We do this formally in a sitting position. You can be sitting on a cushion or sitting in a chair or sitting in an airplane or in a car. But when you are sitting formally to practice or to develop this mind training of focus, you want the back straight, the head slightly tilted forward, not like this, just a little bit forward. Your eyes open with the lids half closed, so you have a soft gaze with a space and light 2 feet in front of your eyes, arm's length in front. Because the basis of these practices is light and space, this starts the healing process. Hands in a comfortable position, either on the knees or in the lap. I like palms down on the knees, but some of the practices require that the right and left hand right on top of left be in the lap. So again, back straight, head tilted, eyes in front, hands comfortable position, and then bring your focus to the tongue resting against the palate. If you can't breathe through your nose, of course, your mouth will be slightly open. Breathing through the nose is far superior energy-wise than breathing through the mouth in these practices. Having set these 5 mudras, you're now ready to bring your mental addition to a single pointed focus on one thing, and we are going to use the breath. It's called prana yoga. Where you simply focus on the inhale, deep into the lungs, diaphragm expanding, exhale. This practice of focusing on the breath is the most powerful at all levels of healing development and methods. Inhale, exhale. Now you do this practice to develop what is called a state of shine, which simply means a state of calm abiding, or moving into peace and tranquility. Since the mental process is single-mindedly pointed on the breath, you're withdrawing your attention from worldly activity. You are causing the mind not to be distracted. Sometimes it is helpful to count the breath. So do that. Count 10 breaths. At the 10th count, you stop counting, but keep your focus on your breathing. You should understand that your mind is the boss and you're not. The second aspect of prana yoga to develop the focus involves what is called the middle breath, which is actually the extraction breath. To do this, you focus on the inhale as air coming in. You think air coming in. The middle breath, you pause for a moment and think energy extracted and passed through the body in that moment. When you exhale, you think the air out to space. Inhale, pause, middle breath, exhale. Air in, energy extracted, passed through the body, exhale to space. Return the air to where it came from. Now you're starting to use the mental process of imagination, engaging the air element with your breath. If you want to test yourself at this stage, called three-part breathing, again, one would test their discipline by counting 10 breaths. The next level of this development of focus to bring the imaginary process into the energy breathing 3 breaths, and we call this the 3 lights yoga meditation practice. Focusing on the inhale, the air coming in, think of it as white light. The middle breath, the energy being extracted, think of it as red light pervading your body. Exhaling blue light, the space. So you inhale the air, white, middle breath, red, absorption. Exhaling air, blue light, the space. Now you are starting to develop the ability to focus in conjunction with the mental process of your imagination. We use the term visualization process. With this color code, you are actually attaining a state of unity with the 3 colors. And increasing not only the energy patterning for your bodies could help, but also releasing tension as the calm, abiding state becomes deeper. You can feel this. Do not sabotage yourself by thinking you can't meditate where you can't visualize. Keep totally positive, because even though your attention span isn't great and your imagination is atrophied, you can bring them back with these practices. You can increase your discipline and good health. And this three light breathing is the basis of more specific or extraordinary healing practice. Inhale white light, pause for the middle breath of red light energy. Exhale blue light to space, think of the sky. Now we're going to use this three light meditation as a basis for connecting to the five elements healing practice. And the remedies of this five elements healing practice are applied physically, mentally, and emotionally. You might notice that you've been somewhat neutral emotionally with this practice session so far. This makes it work better. Now, once you're able to do this three lights prana yoga practice, then take all at once and center them as one particle of light in the center of your chest. And by doing this with focus and imagination working together, you are creating a psychic healing energy center in your heart. And we call this in Sanskrit a chakra. Tibetans use the word bindu. In any case, this is the starting point for the five element healing practice. And it represents the all-pervasiveness of light by this one particle in the center of your heart chakra. Then use your imagination to expand that particle into a tiny three-dimensional sphere of clear light. As a metaphor for our three-dimensional world. Using your imagination, expand that tiny sphere of clear light, and as it expands, change it into a half sphere of green light, which we label the air element. This is about the size of the one I showed you, either on the chart or the actual one, or about the size of your thumbnail. A half sphere of green light, like a bowl with a lid, labeled air. You can hold your focus there as long as you like, absorbing the energy in that area of your body. And if you're having problems with your heart, this is a great method. Then with your imagination, visualize this symbol of air to move out in front of your chest and up before your eyes, 2 feet out. At the point where you started your practice in this session, see it there. Use your third eye, your imagination, and locate that with your 2 eye. Then using this universal symbol, expand it with your imagination to a size large enough that you can see your physical body sitting inside, just as you are. Engaging your focus on this as long as you like. The actual prana or chi is increased at this level of the practice in your body. Then with your imagination, increase this half sphere of green light to a size large enough that you can imagine your city, town, or island where you live inside. Remember, this is all coming from your heart. The next stage of the practice is to expand the half sphere symbol to enclose Mother Earth and her atmosphere of air inside. Then expand it with your imagination to completely enclose our solar system with the sun and all the planets inside. Then, because of the Hubble telescope, we can expand it to include our dish-shaped spiral galaxy. We know what it looks like. So graphically enclose it in this symbol, the half sphere of green light. And the final step in this practice is to expand this to completely merge with our phenomenal universe, which has no boundary. At this stage, you're moving into a non-conceptual or clear state, so just relax. Keep your position, body still, speech still, mind alert. As you start to connect with your own state of spatial awareness or clarity, simply stay present, develop presence. Don't space out. Stay alert. Let the healing energy of this state pervade your consciousness, both the relative and ultimate levels of consciousness. Without any judgment, again with your imagination, create the half sphere enclosing the galaxy. Move back into the three-dimensional world. Then reduce it to just enclosing our solar system inside. Smaller and smaller just to enclose Mother Earth. Holding your focus, imagine your town, city, or island inside. We call this your neighborhood. And tinier to just your body sitting inside. Bringing this universal healing energy to your form. Then to the original small size, see it and imagine it in front of your eyes, 2 feet out. If you actually see it there, that just means you have a really powerful imagination. Bring it to chest level and into your heart chakra. Holding your focus there, reduce it in size to a tiny sphere of clear light. And then to the original tiny particle similar to an atom. And relax as that merges with the light of boundless space, which is the all-pervasive nature of light and consciousness together. Be present, stay alert. After a minute or two, increasing your capacity in this dimension of space and light as your awareness, bring that awareness to in front of your eyes and then expand it into your place of practice. And take a break from meditating and not meditating. Now this application or method, this software that was just introduced for your hard drive, your relative consciousness is your hard drive. The same method is used for each of the other 4 elements. So we use element, but remembering it's in union with the other 4, the healing is predominantly taking place with the qualities of that element. but the other four are working together with that in harmony. To bring balance into your physical, mental situation, and because you're not doing this with judgment, attaching to the process of the meditation or its results, healing is effective, takes place effectively. If you do it with the space element, the same method is used, starting with the point of light, in the heart chakra, etc., through the stages, back, down, and into the heart chakra. The radiance or fire element is the same, the water element used the same way, and the earth, six-sided yellow or gold cube of light. Now, because of the color code, which is what the mind does when it makes thoughts or dreams, unless there's an extreme emotional defective situation, for instance, in states of psychosis, this method of the five elements directly connects to your five states of intrinsic awareness, which is called the clarity of consciousness. It actually is outside of the mind, but the luminosity of thoughts and perceptions comes from that state. So it's kind of like this symbol of a swirling rainbow of color with an empty center or sphere. And this is so that you can understand that everything arises in the mind, the part of you that's emotionally preoccupied, projecting everything and absorbing everything emotionally, is coming from the clear state. But you're more fixated on the thinking and the perceptions. And the thinking, because of your habit in this temporal situation, is that, again, I'm going to say it again, is distorted by this habit of emotionality, of being totally attached to drama, any kind of drama. I mean, you can take the term good and bad out of it, because, as you know, when you connect to the worldly situations, for instance, Netflix or the news or whatever, Facebook, YouTube or whatever, what you're engrossing yourself in is the drama. And it's very, very powerful, distracting. Now, this little symbol that I'm using here, as this being the mind and this your clear state, has a function. If I hold this close to my eye and look at the light, everything appears in rainbow color. And I'm using that as a simile of how your mind, your imagination works. And so that's why if I take this chart, this graphic chart of the five elements and the five states of awareness listed with their qualities, and hold it up to the light, it connects this side with this side simply by the light shining through this. Now this you can obtain through Davy or whoever is teaching this five elements program. And it gives you an understanding. Knowledge is very important. Logic is important up to a point in this process in these healing methods. But if you held your focus through this guided meditation that we just did, you were very kind to you. And then you started from your heart, so you extended this kindness out in front of you. And then you expanded it to your body. Well, that's very kind. Then you applied it to your neighborhood, your island or city where you live. Then you applied it to your solar system. Then you applied it to the galaxy. And then you went universal with it. You moved from the conceptual to the non-conceptual state using your own ability to focus and imagine. So you have fulfilled four of the five functions necessary to develop maturity. If devotion arises from the good results of this practice, from you doing it, then that's called the devotion of your own mind being the teacher, as represented by actual teachers, men and women in the world today, which in this shamanistic tradition, as I said before, is the Lama. Now the Lama has many, many symbols, he or she. Now this was more in the relative applications. Some of the symbols are more in the awareness application. But all of them are using one's own state or mind to develop or increase your capacity for clarity. I like the term non-judgmental application. No attachment, no aversion, no arrogance, no jealousy, no ignorance. Transform all of those. The energy of those emotions which are so disruptive and destructive on our planet today because of our cultures and our attachment to involvement with dramas are transformed into heartfelt energies of kindness and devotion, respect, and honor for every living being in the environment itself. And specifically for people that are using healing modalities to alleviate this pain and suffering in the human condition, or in some cases, the animal condition. So we'll pause here for a short break to see if there's any questions.
Are there any other questions for Lama Tashi? There was a question earlier about whether or not you said hard drive or heart drive.
Oh, the hard drive goes into the hard drive. The hard drive is the software of these methods with their motivation of loving kindness and compassion to every being in the environment. That's the software. That's the hard drive. It goes into the hard, fixed way of thinking that everything's permanent, that everything's solid and unchanging, when actually it's just the opposite. So the hard drive is a habit, a very unhealthy habit developed in our human condition. When it started, many thousands of lifetimes ago for some of us. But it's changing. Just like everything is always changing. So we're changing to more heartfelt, connected individuals.
Ashley has a question.
Is there any other question?
Ashley has a question. Why is the air element used most often?
Because
Repeat it.
we use the air element not most often, but since we are starting these practices of developing focus and the imagination with the spontaneous process of breathing, the air element is actually transformed into what is called in Chinese qi, or healing energy. Very useful. In Tibetan we use the word, or Sanskrit we use the word prana. So we're identifying this element as inseparable from the other elements, but having this special quality of prana. Also, it's kind of hard to visualize a half sphere compared to a full sphere. So it's a little more tricky, causes you a little more energy, effort in your imaginary development. When the imagination is full blown and connected with clarity, whatever you imagine appears. Ooh. So it is very, very important to be kind and considerate, because of the relative situation we have the law of karma. And in our world, 7 million humans, most of them do not believe in karma. And you know this to be true because if they did, they wouldn't act, speak, and think the way they do. That answer your question, Ashton? For prana? Have a bowl of prana. You got to keep our sense of humor in a sort of irreverence about all this, because
Yes, you answered it.
spirituality can tend to become religious, dogmatic, fixed, and in that way it can be used to control, and that doesn't work. We want to free up everything so that we can relax, like being in Hawaii on vacation. The real purpose to come to Hawaii on vacation is because everything's so harmonious here, you can relax. But the humans that come here don't do that. Very few actually come here and relax. So,
Wonderful. We
any
have
more questions?
Yeah, we have several more questions. So the first question is, why did we misuse our emotions to addict ourselves to drama?
Because you believe you exist. You believe that you are an entity separate from everybody and everything else. And in religious situations, you even believe you have a soul. And these are simply concepts, these beliefs. And because of them, you are distorting the reality that everything is actually interconnected and there is no such thing as separation. Therefore, there is no such thing as an I or a soul existing with that idea. And if you use that as the basis for healing, then this connectedness is actually a heartfelt process and get you out of your headiness of egocentric, habitual, dualistic fixating. Ooh. Does that answer your question?
I believe so. And the next question is visualization on the elements a manifestation of our own compassion? That's part one. And part two, how exactly does this visualization transmute internal and external energy?
Because the mental worlds are not separate, as I said before, there's no such thing as separation. And because you're establishing as kindness, heartfelt kindness to start with, this removes the judgmental aspects of healing. And if you have a mind that is non-judgmental, you are a mature human being, simply by being non-judgmental. So this kindness, together with these software codes that we're introducing, are very effective because you've removed the distortion of the healing process, which is, in a word, emotionality, drama. This is not a drama program. Non-judgmental mind, no drama. That's very hard for this human condition to engender. So it takes practice. I'm 77 years old. I've been practicing half my life. Actual practice. But what is the result? I get to die healthy. In a state of happiness and joy and bliss, which I'm engaging in relationship with everybody around me and my environment all the time. And that's nice. In a word, that's very nice. Next question.
Is this practice from
Go ahead.
Is this practice from Kalu Rinpoche?
Directly. Kalu Rinpoche is my root Lama. He came to Maui in 1977. The first practice he introduced to us hippies, of which there were many, many in Maui in the 70s, was to sit for 2 days in Lahaina, a very hot place on Kauai, and practice this 5 elements meditation. So this is a direct transmission of the shamanistic tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, which in their culture was called the Bon. It's pronounced Burn, B-O-N, but it's pronounced Burn tradition. It's very similar to the Tai Chi Quan tradition of the Taoist Chinese healing program. Very similar. Yes. Our Ricochet sits on top of my head. Imagine him there. Next question.
That is all the questions right now, Lama Tashi.
Okay, so we have time for one more aspect of this.
Yes,
We have
please.
time?
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to take this to the next level. We've been locating physical and mental applications for healing purposes in what we call the relative situation. Why? Because in order to practice, you have to have energy and good health. If you don't, it's very hard to stay focused and use your imaginary process and stay kind and considerate and develop clarity. The other level that we're talking about here, this clarity, is simply a relaxed state of awareness developed through these practices that you can apply to the relative situations of your worldly activities. When you do this, you're increasing your capacity to more and more trust that that aspect of your conscious works 1,000 times better to fulfill your wishes than the relative way of being. You start to understand this. You start to trust and see this transition into this clear states of awareness to be actually producing better and better results for you as a human being and others around you. You can share this. That's what we call the integration of healing on this level of awareness into any healing modality. We use a symbol in Tibetan Buddhism of a blue Buddha. Okay, a human being. It could be female or it can be male, but a blue human being sitting as our inner teacher represented by an outer teacher or group of teachers. This symbol incorporates all the healing methods available to the human condition as applied physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So the way the Buddha Shakyamuni did this 2,600 years ago, when he appeared in India, was to take his life of 80 some years and teach what they call 3 methods, 3 categories of methods. The first method is applied to people that have the inclination to become mature through what is called the monk and nun, through the vow tradition, which we associate with most of the Buddhists of the planet as Theravadan or Hinayana Buddhism. Then he also taught another level of mind training practices for healing, which involves what they call Vajrayana or Tantric practice. And this is using the basis of the 6 methods of a bodhisattva, which is a person that wants to bring everybody to be healed. That's their motivation. To merge clarity with everything, the environment, just as it is, and everybody in it. So that's called the direct method, going directly to the pure state of consciousness through the heart. Now this symbol is an all-inclusive symbol, but more than that, it represents the totality of space itself. It represents every kind of situation and every kind of sentient being that exists in our universe as already healed. That they're already this symbol. So the only difference between a mature human being and an ordinary human being is the mature human being understands this, has directly accessed this in their mind and is applying it to their speech and to their activities. So we actually can use this in what we call sutra tradition, which means you're overcoming everything that's an obstacle. Or you can use it in the tantric tradition, which means you are this, nothing to overcome. The healing has already taken place, you accept that and pass it on. You integrate it because there's nothing separate. But there's one more category that the Buddha taught. And it goes like this. So what I'm doing now is mimicking this statue behind me, which could be said to be the image of Shakyamuni, but we use it as a direct application of maturity. It is a relaxed state of awareness where no effort is required to use the imagination or focus. But in this day and age, it's very unlikely that any human being can do that. And that's what my teacher, Kala Rinpoche, said. But just in case, they do teach the direct application of what they call Ati Yoga, the perfection of awareness itself. It's called a point-out instruction method. When you do that, you need to have a very strong basis of heart development, and you have to have a very strong devotional connection to the teacher that's going to give you that transmission of awareness or awareness. All of this is done by transmission. And tonight you receive the transmission of the healing of the 5 elements connecting to the 5 states of intrinsic awareness. This sums all of that up in one symbol. If you practice being the medicine Buddha, then you receive the transmission from the Lama, who is doing this practice, And he gives you the transmission with 3 sounds and 3 colors into your body, speech, and mind. And once these are generated in you, then you and the Lama's mind become inseparable, and you visualize yourself as this tantric symbol. And when you do that, you bring the energy that's created within your body to your speech. And when you do that, you generate what is called mantra. Mantra is the powerful vocal application of the exhale of this extraordinary energy that is circulating in your physical situation. It comes out, and it comes out like this. And it looks like this. This is a hum. Looks like a tilted 5 with a hook, with a dot over it and a hook under it, radiating light and symbolic sounds all around it. The outer circle is the universe. Outside of that, space. And it radiates like the sun. And you identify this symbol as being in the center of your heart chakra. And then this hum connects this idea of the healing energy of the medicine Buddha to everybody you have karma with. All the animals, all the humans, all the spirits in the whole universe that you have karma with. And when you think of them, you apply this healing energy to them so they have no disease. They're totally healed on all levels. As you place all of these beings you have karma with around you, generating your energy like the sun does to our solar system, it's in an impartial application. Because of that, the mantra starts to vibrate in your heart center. And because it's vibrating in your heart center and generating this energy, it comes out your mouth. And it comes out like this. Ajata Om Bhakanti Bhakanti Ma Bhakanti Rajda Samagate Soha. Now that's the way it's said in India. Ajata Om Bhakanti Bhakanti Ma Bhakanti Rajda Samagate Soha. And that's the way it's chanted in Tibet. So it's not so much about the sound has to be exactly correct. But this vibratory sound is just echoing the all-pervasiveness of this application to anybody, anywhere that requires healing on any level. Rajata Om Bhakanti Bhakanti Ma Bhakanti Rajda Samagate Soha. Rajata Om Bhakanti Bhakanti Ma Bhakanti Rajda Samagate Soha. Rajata Om Bhakanti Bhakanti Ma Bhakanti Rajda Samagate Soha. Rajata Om Bhakanti Bhakanti Ma Bhakanti Rajda Samagate Soha. Rajata Om Bhakanti Bhakanti Ma Bhakanti Rajda Samagate Soha. Now this requires intense focus. Developing the ability to locate that vibratory sound, that mantra circling it, and you as the medicine Buddha, expressing this radiant light energy to every being to heal them physically, mentally, and emotionally, using your imagination out of kindness and with devotion and respect for the Lama who gave you the transmission so that you could develop this to become a mature human being, sums it all up. There's nothing beyond it. except for one to practice it. And when you practice these tantric practices, and this medicine Buddha practice is one of 1,000, you do it a lot. In fact, there's a requirement that if you receive the transmission and the how to do this, they expect you to say this mantra with this visualization using the heart to locate the energy 111,111 times minimum. So that means you're gradually developing, not all at once. Slowly, deliberately, day by day. Yes, you could leave your body in the next moment. So what? If you've developed your consciousness to the point where there's no I, no judgment, your future looks really good. This transition from this substantial state, this 3D temporal existence, to the unsubstantial state of the spirit world is like water into water. Because you're developing in such a way that compassion, insight, and power express themselves as bliss, clarity, and light itself, which is what we call voidness. Understanding this, it's easy to move into Ati Yoga level of consciousness. So that sums up the Tibetan shamanistic tradition as done by these methods tonight. Any questions?
Questions about the images. Would it be possible for Abby to send me the image of the Hung and the Medicine Buddha and Color Rinpoche, and then I can post it in the Facebook group for people?
I think you can get all that off YouTube, Facebook, or our website.
I don't have a scanner.
But yes, you can connect to Abby at aloha.net.
Okay, yeah, and you don't have a scanner, Abby. That's okay. I can grab some images off
You could actually Skype to me and I could give them the instruction personally, or they could have a group that might be interested in this and arrange a special Skype program. We do that. But this is on the web. All of these tantric practices of Tibetan Buddhism, not just the Medicine Buddha, Tara, Chenrezig, Manjushri, all of these.
That image was taken off the web.
This came off the web. This picture is.
We can send it out to people.
We'd be glad to. Abby said yes, we can send it out.
Okay, great. So contact Abby at aloha.net. And
Yeah.
Lama Tashi says he's available for personal coaching and Skype as well. And then we have a couple questions. If body and mind are each an illusion, why are they inseparable?
You can't have one without the other in the human condition. The mind produces all of what you are sensing into the body. Every thought with its emotional attendant causes your body to either become more healthy or energetic or extremely full of disease. Since there is no such thing as separation, you have to keep this idea in mind with all aspects of this three-dimensional world. Actually, there's no separation of past, present, and future. If you experience that, you're experiencing what is called timelessness. If you experience timelessness, you're in a state of clarity. So yes, the body and mind, one is the other. This is why mind training practice is so extraordinary, so important, especially in this age where everything is deteriorating at a rapid rate.
Beautiful. And then there was another question that may have been answered already, but what is the that final stage of yoga called? What is
Nothing
that final
whatsoever. Ati Yoga.
Ati Yoga? Okay. Okay.
There's a book called Perfect Clarity, presented by various teachers of Tibetan Buddhist commentary on this Ati Yoga reference, which is, we say in our tradition, Mahamudra, or the Great View. And then in other traditions, it's called Maha-Ati, which means the Great Perfection. But this book on Perfect Clarity is available through Amazon, so that you can gain understanding before you actually gain realization. Now we finish tonight with, if there's no more question.
Doesn't look like there aren't any more coming in right now.
Okay, we finish with formal dedication that everything that we've accomplished tonight with this class and these teachings, which also could be said to be a transmission for people to actually do these practices and accomplishing healing effects. We give this away entirely to the benefit of all beings filling space. So this dedication prayer kind of sums up this evening's or any type of positive or virtuous energy sharing. By the virtue of this practice and these teachings, and having realized the perfection of mind, Mahamudra, may I quickly establish all beings without exception in this state. With the blessing of the Buddhas who obtained the three kayas, the bodies of a mature being, and through the blessing of the unchanging truth of this Dharma, and through the blessing of the unwavering aspirations of us, the Sangha, who practice it, may this and all dedication prayers be fulfilled, so that all beings be happy, all beings be free of suffering, all beings be established in bliss through our practice, and attain a state of non-judgmental mind called equanimity. So we say from Hawaii, mahalo, which is thank you, and in Tibetan, yuchi che, which is how the Tibetans say thank you. And I'm very honored to be able to give this advice and these teachings tonight. May they be used successfully by whoever has this inclination, ability, leisure time to do this. Aloha and Tashi.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lama Tashi. It's always
Thank you, Davey,
beautiful.
for organizing this, and Abby for connecting, putting this all together. Without you techies, I'd just be sitting here doing my own thing.
Yes, very grateful for the tech support of Davey and Abby bringing it together. Thank you, everybody. Just a reminder, our next webinar with Lama Tashi is going to be Tuesday, December 15th. We will be sending out invitations, so keep an eye out. Again, the Tibetan Tantra Dharma class with Lama Tashi on Facebook is a great place to connect. If you can't find, if you search and you can't find it, just contact me directly, Davey Ward, on Facebook. For some reason, I can't post the link here. For those of you who are so inclined, please do donate, contribute to the support of Kauai Dharma Center and Lama Tashi. You can do that at kawaidharma.org. And yeah, just please stay connected. So, oh yeah, okay, great. Thank you for, I don't know why it won't let me post the link to the Facebook group. Thank you so much. Also, I will be posting the images that Lama Tashi is holding right now, the 5-element images in that Facebook group. And it sounds like the images of the Medicine Buddha and the Hung can be found online. I can grab those from there and send them there as well. These are recorded, and one of our wonderful students, Elena, is going to be doing the editing. When the videos are edited, they will be posted in the Facebook group as well. And Lama Tashi also says that you can connect with him anytime, right, Lama Tashi? Directly, personally?
Yeah, you can even have my phone number.
Oh, okay. All right. Woo, wow, that's intimate.
Thank you. Duchiche.
Thank you, Lama Tashi. You have a wonderful night, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
Juicy dreams.
Bye-bye.